Today, I'm going to teach you how to get qualified leads, better and bigger projects with no ads. Even if English is not your first language, you're not a good writer, you're not an SEO expert, and you don't have a big social following. And I'm going to show you how to do this in 6 easy to follow steps.
What is up, Futurists, Future Fam, Donuts, Donation? It's time to step into the dojo. Today, we're going to talk about how to get qualified leads without spending money on advertising with Kady Sandel. Here's what I know about Kady. She's the CEO and creative director. She's a course creator, author, speaker, and educator for graphic designers. Her mission is to help graphic designers build their design agency. Kady, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me here on the show. I'm happy to be here.
Kady, thank you for doing this. I'm really excited to talk to you today because I believe after this talk, our audience are going to have many takeaways that they can implement in their business. So for the people who don't know who you are, can you introduce yourself?
Yes. My name is Kady Sandel. I'm the CEO and creative director of Aventiv Studio. I am originally from Serbia, but I live in Austin, Texas at the moment. And I am also the founder and business educator for graphic designers. I help graphic designers to start and build their design agencies. I'm also an author, course creator, and public speaker. And I do masterminds for female graphic designers.
Perfect. Okay. And didn't you write a book too?
Yes, I did. Yes. So I wrote the book 2 years ago, and it's called Brand Fix, and it's all about brand strategy for entrepreneurs.
Excellent. So what are we going to talk about today?
Yeah, so today I'm going to share the formula on how graphic designers or basically any creative person can land their dream projects. So not just dream clients, but dream projects.
Great. I'm looking forward to that. So Kady's going to share a presentation with us that she's put together, and I'll just watch intently.
Okay. Well, first of all, thank you so much for having me here on the show. I'm happy to be here, and I prepared this presentation that really helped me getting my dream projects. So now this might sound backwards, but I'm going to start with sharing what didn't work for me because I feel that a lot of designers can relate to this. So I used to have a 9-to-5 as a graphic designer. And at the same time, I started freelancing on the side, but like a lot of first-time freelancers, I was not, making enough money. I was working 24/7, barely making any money. And eventually I got a lot of random clients and like from all over the place. And I even doubled my pricing, but still I was not getting there. I was not able to grow, and I will constantly go in this circle of, chasing clients. A long story short, I would post on Craigslist. I would connect with people on LinkedIn. I would do Instagram. Like literally I tried everything. But the problem overall was that I was trying to get every possible client instead of focusing on who I want to work with, because I thought that the more I do, the more clients I will get. So my clients were anyone who needed any design services. Like I would do logos, brochures, flyers. I even learned how to do websites. And I was also competing with every single graphic designer on the web. And I often had to lower my rates to win projects. And now I had always heard this advice to like find your niche, right? And then like to target your marketing to them. And I resisted this for a long time, but I also knew that if I don't make changes in my business, like nothing's going to change. And even though I was afraid to niche down, I knew that nothing's going to change. Like I will still see the same results, right? So once I did pick a niche, I switched all of my effort towards working with businesses in the health and wellness industry. And now the formula that I'm going to share today on how to land your dream project is not about specializing, but specializing will help for sure. And I'm a big fan of specializing and becoming an expert, but more on that later. So let's start with the formula. And for everyone like that is watching this, if you haven't already, grab a pen and paper so you can take notes and move through the formula as we go. So the formula. All you need is your own website that has a blog on it. Even if you have never written a blog post before, you could use this strategy with your very first blog if you wanted. You don't need to be an amazing writer or an expert in SEO, and you don't need a big audience. You just need to know what kind of project you want to get, and then get in your ideal client's head, do a little bit of research, and write one post that is tailored to exactly what they want and need. And the end goal is this: a person who needs your services finds you easily while they're Googling, right? So the title of your blog is so specific to them that they click on it, and you wrote it in such a valuable way that it speaks to them. So for example, let's say that you want to get a skincare project and you want to work on their branding, website, maybe product photography, like whatever you offer, right? So now you have that amazing blog post, and I will tell you how to write it in just a second. And as that skincare client, that ideal client that has the ideal project, reads it, they think, okay, this person knows what they're talking about. They seem to be an expert in exactly what I need. And from there, this cold lead who knew nothing about you and your business just 5 minutes ago, they were just Googling the entire internet to solve their specific problem. Well, that person is now going through your services, your portfolio, and they're going to contact you. They might contact you immediately. They might bookmark your website and contact you later, but they will contact you if you did everything right and the article was, useful for them. So now for today's presentation, I will not talk much about specializing as a graphic designer, like doing just branding projects or working only with the health and wellness industry and things like that. But specializing is something that helped me go from, I need more clients to we are booked out for 4 months. It was crazy. I just wanted you to understand this concept. And I think, Chris, that this is in one of your videos on YouTube, that's something specialized or generalized, like niche or broad, where you talk about how creatives can specialize like externally, but stay broad internally. So if you would like to add something to that, feel free to do that. But if not, I will just move towards the formula.
I'm leaning in right now because I want to know, like, how are you going to be able to attract your ideal clients? So I think you should just proceed.
Okay, perfect. So let's go with the step one. So step one is to simply imagine a project you would like to get. And this sounds so easy. And it is. It doesn't matter if you are a generalized or specialized graphic designer, or even if you're a designer. This formula works for every creative. It's super simple, not easy, but simple. So in this step, I want you to think about a very specific client or project that you would like to work with. And even if you already have a niche, like I do, I want you to get in like even more specific than you usually do. So for example, my agency does branding for wellness products, but right now we would like to work on tea packaging. So we would like to get a client that, has like tea blends or is trying to open a tea house or something like that. So something like really, really specific. So like what exact clients do you want to work on next? So not for the rest of your life, just next. Be specific, like have fun with this part. It's like make it feel like a game. It's like picking the perfect client out of the air. That can be branding for yoga mats. It can be video for a bar. It can be, rebranding for an Italian restaurant, like whatever it is. So you now have this dream project in your mind, right? Now write that down, and also write down what you can offer to that client. So just your services. You can do logo, brand boards, packaging, like whatever is that you offer. And this can be, any other service. Like if you're a photographer, videographer, UX designer, you can still come up with the exact client you want to work with next, and the type of service or package you want to work with them on. So the next step is research. So this is our second step, and this is the most important step, and where we are focusing on the client. So with the first step, we were focusing on what we want, but now we have to figure out what is that, not just that they want, but what is that they really, really need. So you already know what you offer and who you want to offer it to, but let's now work on who we want to work with. First, you need to learn about that industry in general. So I had only worked on one skincare project before I tried this strategy for getting a skincare client. So I took some time to Google and understand what sites and resources my ideal client would be, familiar with. I also learned a lot about manufacturing, how skincare products are being developed, such as who creates the formula. Like I never knew anything about that. I learned about different packaging materials, product containers, and these things are not just for the blog. We have to think a step further as well. Like if I get a call from a potential client tomorrow, I have to know what they're talking about. I have to understand them. I have to know their challenges and problems. And, and I can include this in the blog post, but it's more for us to know it. And I mean, there's nothing stopping you from mentioning these things if you want in your blog as well. So as an example, my agency doesn't do anything social media related. So we don't do ads or postings or anything like that. But by knowing that skincare companies have a lot of questions about Instagram, we included a section in our blog about like social media ideas and examples, like things like that. And this gives my clients the value and information they want and positions us as an expert, even if we aren't selling or offering those exact services. So next, think for a moment like about who you would be working with on the project. Like who is going to be looking for you? Is that the CEO? Like if you're working with smaller companies, maybe it's a marketing manager, maybe an art director who is outsourcing. Like who is the exact person you are trying to attract? All these people have different roles, and what attracts me as an art director doesn't mean it will attract the client. So for example, I would much rather see like black and white logos from graphic designers versus on mockups, while clients would like to see mockups and everything presented in 3D and things like that. The reason why you need to know who is going to look for you is because you want to know more about their demographic and psychographic. So you want to know a little bit more about the person who you're going to talk to. And so just a couple of things, like maybe their location, age, income, and things like that. But what's more important is to know like what problems they have, their challenges, and how they're trying to solve their problems. Like you don't, and as mentioned, like you don't need to mention that in your blog post, like my reader lives in Texas and this is their problem. But by having this clear picture in your mind will improve your writing. So that is the whole point here. And think of this blog post as a like super helpful letter that you're going to send directly to that person, rather than something you're shouting in a microphone in front of a lot of people. Because that's why they will connect faster and better. The next one is you are going to do some SEO research. And SEO stands for search engine optimization. And it's how people find you on Google or any other search platform. And I know that can sound fancy to some people, but really all you need to do for this is Google and what you just came up with about your ideal project and client, like nothing else. And I'll tell you how to figure out what your clients are searching for in just a second. So with Google, you don't want to look into just the keywords, but also kind of like key phrases. Basically, what is this specific ideal client typing into Google? Because if your post matches that, Google will eventually figure that out and move your post up so your client can find you faster. But here, first, I want to talk about what is that didn't work for us, because I don't want you to make the same mistake as me when this presentation is over. So we used to write blog posts that talked about health and wellness branding. Those were the keywords we used all the time in our blog, like wellness branding or health and wellness branding, sometimes maybe wellness marketing, because we were thinking, what would a health and wellness entrepreneur need to know about this topic? But here is what we learned. Even though health and wellness branding is our niche, my typical ideal client is not Googling terms like health and wellness, like wellness branding. That is how we think of it internally. But remember, you need to get in their head and think about what they are Googling. So someone starts a skincare company, they are going to Google skincare branding or skincare packaging or skincare marketing even. So they aren't looking for information on the entire wellness industry. They're only Googling what matters to them, right? So the same is true if you are a graphic designer and you want to learn more about getting clients. Like, you're most likely going to Google how to get clients as a graphic designer versus how to get clients online. Just an example. So now, if you're thinking, okay, but how do I know what they're Googling? There are some tools like Google Keyword Planner. And Google Keyword Planner will help you to see the search volume of different keywords. You also need to do some quick brainstorming based on the ideal client profile you thought of, and try to picture what they would really need to read or learn about. And I recommend, when you start writing the blog post, I recommend you narrow it down to one primary keyword or phrase that covers the whole article, like skincare branding, right? And then maybe 3 to 4 secondary keywords, which will just be a part of the article. So these secondary keywords could be skincare packaging, skincare, I don't know, social media, how to sell skincare products. Like, those secondary ones will be mentioned, but will not be the main focus. For everyone that is watching this video, I hope you're taking notes, because as mentioned, this is the proven formula to get your dream project. And you just need to follow the steps, or you'll simply need to rewatch the video, which is fine too. Then plug a few of those keywords into Google and see how many results come back. Look at what the top performing posts are and click on them. And here are some metrics to look for in each article. How many words does each top performing article have? Most of the time, the top posts on Google have between 2,000 and 3,000 words. Some do have more than 10,000 words and things like that, and some have even less. But the best would be if you can write a blog post, at least to start with, 2,000 to 3,000 words. Next, look into what keywords do those authors seem to focus on. Just figure out what words they use often within the blog. What titles? What is the title of their article? Is it how to do something? Is it 5 steps to this and that? Like, do you see any pattern? And what could you do better? So if it's for a skincare project, can you write about sustainable packaging or product photography or whatever you think would be valuable to a reader? And as mentioned, doesn't need to mean you offer those services, but the goal is to get people to click on your blog, read it, and contact you. So the more value you can provide, the better. So this initial research will show you a lot. We recently used this strategy to try to attract a tea client. And when we Googled tea branding, you know what came up? What do you think, Chris? That
Tea
someone
branding.
who sells, so someone who sells tea blends, what do you think that they would type into Google, even though if you know that they need branding, but what is that they would type?
Okay, so I'm a manufacturer who makes tea and tea blends, and I'm looking for someone to help me with branding.
Yes.
What would I type in? Uh, tea packaging design.
That is correct. Yes. So even though I offer services as, I offer branding, and what we as designers think of, is not exactly the same what potential clients would think.
Right.
What is the most important to them is packaging, but we would maybe think about logos, maybe brand strategy, logos, colors, fonts, all those things. Well, what they care about is packaging. So if we wrote a post about branding, our potential clients may not find it, and we need to meet them like where they are. So we wrote a post that focused on tea packaging, that include, so we included tea packaging in the title, and then we talked about tea packaging throughout the blog, throughout the article, and we also mentioned branding, and of course we had call to action at the end. So one of my favorite hacks for this step 2 is to plug search terms into Google and see what Google gives you back in the people also ask section. So here's a screenshot so you can see what I mean. So under people also ask, Google is giving you like strings of words that people are typing in. This is so helpful. I recommend you use some of these as your subheadings within the blog. So if you were using this strategy for coffee shop branding, your blog post would have a section called "How do you brand a coffee shop?" And another piece of your blog could be what makes a coffee shop stand out. And another section would be what is a good coffee shop name. So after you have all this information, you will outline your blog post, and it will look something like this. So you have a title idea based on the other titles you found that have been effective. Then you have heading ideas for each section of your post. And under the headings, you will write paragraphs to fill in the gaps, right? So do you see how every single thing in your outline came from somewhere? It came from either your ideal client persona or your Google research. Like, we didn't just randomly make it up. And I've seen this mistake. I've seen lots of creatives and graphic designers, like they make this mistake because they write, I don't know, about like logo designs, they write about website designs, but they're not focused on the client and what is exactly that the client would search. The next step is to write a hyper-targeted blog post. So now you're going to write the blog post like targeted specifically to this project and this ideal client you came up with. So writing the blog post will take some time, but if you outlined the post piece by piece, like I recommended, and you already know what each section header is, then it's just a matter of like working your way through and writing. The outlining is honestly way more important than the writing. And here are some writing tips when you are ready to make your post. So give yourself permission to jump around from section to section, and there is no rule that says you need to write the post like in order. Use examples. So if you're writing about coffee shops, mention Starbucks. If you're writing about skincare line, mention Olay. Just give examples. Write like you talk. So your reader is a human. And even if your own brand is high-end and professional, you want them to relate to your post on a human level. So don't just add a bunch of complicated words to sound smart because they will not understand it. After you did your research and wrote a super valuable blog post for your future ideal client, you need to know just a little bit about SEO. I am not an SEO expert, so nothing too crazy, but just knowing the difference between H2 and text makes all the difference to Google, and I'll mention that as well. So I'll tell you just the basics to help you structure your blog based on what we do for our successful blog posts. So remember those header ideas you came up with, what we had under people also ask or people also search in Google? I think that we had an example like what makes a coffee shop stand out. Well, those headings serve two purposes. So the first one is that they help your readers skim through what they want so they don't click away, and they show Google what your post is about. So when you make a heading in your blog post, like don't just use regular text and put the words in bold. This is what we did. This is like we really did this in the past. So you need to make it in something called H2 text, and so that Google recognizes that it's important. And here is an example in my WordPress of what that looks like. And although depending on your platform or version of WordPress, this may look different for you. But the point is to use text for most of your content and H2 for all of your headings. You can also use H3 if something is kind of a header, but not as important. There are, H3, H4, H5, and so on. But that's now getting too much into the details of SEO. And to be honest, we don't really use those. So feel free to play with it. But I don't think that level of detail is, as important. Next is images. So when someone is reading your post, you want to break up the text with images so it's easier on their eyes. So break up the longer paragraphs and add images in between, because sometimes if we start reading a blog post that is super, super long, and unless it's super, super engaging, we click away. So it has to be easy for us and for your clients to be able to read. Make sure your images are horizontal. I've seen vertical images and then people have to scroll to get to the next section. So you don't want your readers to scroll too far to get to the next paragraph. And in addition to stock images or your own images, you can also add inline forms in your posts so that and that gives readers an opportunity to sign up for your email list. So once you have images, you need to add something to them called alt text. Alt text is basically a few words that you attach to each photo in your blog post. And the alt text needs to describe what is happening in that photo. So is it someone typing on a laptop? Is it a packaging design? If someone couldn't see the photo, how would you describe it? Alt text helps Google rank your website higher, especially if you can somehow include your keywords without forcing it. And it also helps your users, especially if the image doesn't load. And it also describes the image to anyone who is visually impaired, which is so important. Next is your title and meta description. So your title needs to be catchy. And that's 100%. The whole point is you want clients to click on your post, right? And your meta description is the little blurb that that people see when your post comes up in their Google results. Like you can see here on the screen. You can write this meta description yourself and use keywords in it, and that can help get people to click on it. And here's I think that if you don't write a meta description, Google will pull from random parts of your blog post. So, maybe it will not be exactly what you wanted, and maybe it won't be as attractive to your ideal client. And now, as you know more about them and you know what would attract them, it's better if you do it on your own versus letting Google to pick random sentences from your blog. If you use WordPress, I highly recommend the Yoast plugin. It has a free version and can help you with all of those details I mentioned in our step 4. It will make sure your alt text and meta description are there, and that you use keywords the right amount of times, and things like that. Now, this is my favorite part. So step 5 is called promotion. And you may have heard that once you become a blogger or you use blogging to get clients, you need to promote your post, right? Like you have to talk about them, you have to share them on social media, maybe even boost your posts and maybe even, I don't know, do some ads. Well, for this, we did zero promotion, like zero, like nothing, absolutely nothing. And this is why this formula is so powerful. And we didn't do it just once, we did like over and over again, but I'll tell you more about that in just a second. So yeah, maybe we posted it on social media once at a time, but we don't focus on social media. We get clients through word of mouth or kind of like referrals or through our blog. So we didn't really try to promote this blog post nor any other blog post. So yeah, no promotion at all. And I just also want to mention that there might be some opportunities in, I don't know, maybe Google ads, Facebook ads, or, something like that. But luckily, I didn't have to figure that out so here's what happened. We wrote that blog post for the skincare client that I mentioned, and we went through all the steps I just walked you through, and we continued to write other posts. We didn't see any results from that post at first. We just let it be. Look at how that skincare post performed on Google for the first 6 months. Not great, right? The numbers on the left are the number of page views per week. You can see for the first 6 months, it got minimal attention, like 0 or 2 page views per week for a lot of that time. And also, if you are thinking, but Kady, this was in 2020 when we had a pandemic, you are right. But this is just an example. We have used this same strategy before with pet products, sports drinks, which is quite interesting. So we wrote a cool blog post about sports drink packaging, I think it was. And from that post, we got a client that sells meal replacement shakes. So it's not 100% what we thought we wanted, but that project was even better, if you ask me. But let's go back to the skincare example. Now, here is where it gets interesting. So this graph shows months 7 through 12 of when the same skincare blog post was online, and it's again looking at the numbers of page views per week. So look at the numbers on the left now. Instead of 2 page views a week like before, we are now at 50, 70, 100 page views a week. And it keeps going up from there. Like, I want you to know that we didn't change a single thing about this post. It is the same post as before. We didn't promote it. And the article didn't get featured in, I don't know, Forbes, didn't go viral or anything like that. It was just there. And I think that, it takes some time for Google to figure out what is that you published. So it simply, so that point about 6 months in is simply when Google started to understand, oh, okay, this post is about branding for skincare products. And when we show it to people who are looking for these keywords, they click on it, they read about that, and they stay on that blog, So we are now averaging about 100 page views a week from 95 unique visitors. And this means that every single week, 95 individuals who are searching for words around skincare branding or skincare packaging are finding our agency for the first time, like very first time. This number might not seem big, and it's actually really tiny, right? But if I had to choose between getting 5 amazing leads from my ideal clients per week for, ideal projects, or getting 20 random ones, well, I would choose 5 ideal clients. And with that said, just last Friday, we talked to a client who has a budget of $40,000 a month. And just this Monday, we had an opportunity to talk to an international skincare company that is looking for a rebrand. So we are not just getting more leads, but better leads, which is, I would say, even more important. Better clients over more clients, right? And they haven't signed the proposal yet, but I'm confident they will. And it's something I would have never thought was possible for me and my small branding studio here in Austin. But they all found us because of this blog. So you can do the math here. Even if only a small percentage of those skincare clients contact us, and only a small percentage of those end up signing up to work with us, that's still really good. Now, we're almost done with this presentation, but I want to share one more thing. So here's an example of a post we wrote on tea packaging design. I think this is the most recent one. We follow the same exact 6-step formula I just shared with you, and we don't even have 6 full months of data yet. But notice the same thing has already started to happen with our traffic, right? So for the first few months, there were almost no page views. And then at the 5-6 month mark, people are finding it organically on Google in way larger numbers than they did before. And it will, just grow from there. And this is our last step. This is repeat. So when you implement this strategy, when you look at all your and when you look into all your blog posts together, it will look a little bit of mishmash. Like now we have one specific post for pet products, one for skincare, one for sports drinks, one for tea packaging, because I'm still trying to get a tea client. So one reader wouldn't find value in every single one of your blog posts, but that means you're doing it right. Okay, let's go over the formula one last time. Step 1, identify the exact project and clients you would like to work with next. Step 2, research that industry, client, and SEO practices so you can pick your keywords and outline your posts. Step 3, write your post. Tweak your structures like headings and alt text so it's SEO optimized even more. Publish your post and let Google show it to the right people. And repeat this formula whenever you think of a new client you want to work with. So I hope that this formula helps freelancers land their dream project as much as it helped me. And Chris, I just did the summary of today's show for you, but if you would like to add something, go ahead.
No, I don't have anything to recap, but I have questions to ask you specifically, Kady. So if people want to find out more about you, where can they go to see the blogs in action?
Okay. So where they can find me?
Yep.
aventivstudio.com and then /blog. They will be able to find there. You will see that we never stopped writing the generic ones, but we do have a lot of hyper-targeted ones as well.
Yeah. Okay, so when did you start implementing this strategy to write hyper-targeted blog posts as a way to generate leads?
So I think we started that about 2 or 3 years ago.
Okay. And what kind of results have you seen since? Like how many new projects and how much were they worth to you in the time that you've started doing this?
Yeah, so I think that this is something that completely changed everything that I've ever done in the past, because I used to be a solo freelancer and I always wanted to grow my studio. I always wanted to hire and outsource and things like that. And so these blog posts helped me actually do that, because people were finding me through blog. I was getting the ideal clients, the ideal leads, the bigger projects, and I simply had to outsource and hire. So it helped me scale, it helped me grow. And also I was getting better leads. I think I mentioned that during our call. So instead of, charging, I don't know, just a few hundreds for a logo, now I'm doing all these larger projects, starting from, brand strategy, visual identity, websites. Like now I have a team of people and we're charging, $30,000, $15,000.
Wow.
So it completely changed everything in my business.
Mm-hmm. So you went from charging hundreds of dollars to tens of thousands of dollars by implementing the strategy, and going
Yes,
from a solopreneur to a person who's managing a studio.
that is correct. Yep.
How many people work for you today?
So I have one full-time content developer, and I have a lot of freelancers and contractors. So I have a few graphic designers, I have a couple of web developers, I have 2 web designers, I have someone who helps with social media. So yeah.
Wonderful. I'm so happy for you. Wow.
Yeah.
The number one challenge that creatives have is how to get discovered, and they don't want to do outbound sales strategy. This is a very effective inbound strategy. And you're saying that don't expect miracle results right away, that it could take somewhere between 6 to 12 months for it to really hit. But when it hits, you're finding the right kinds of leads, attracting the right kinds of customers who are looking for you right now.
Yes. No, I was always afraid of doing something like this because I always thought that if I niche down, I'm going to exclude other people. But it's quite the opposite. Even when we decided to specialize in, wellness products, it's still, super broad.
Mm-hmm.
And this strategy really helped us getting the ideal project. So we were not focused on getting the ideal client, but ideal project. And it all started by me thinking, okay, so what is the next project I personally would love to work on? Like a skincare line. Like I would love to do packaging for them. And so I was like, okay, how can I get a client that is looking for skincare packaging? And then we came up with, okay, let's write this super valuable, cool blog post. And it all went from there. I mean, that wasn't the first one. I don't remember exactly which hyper targeted blog post was the first one. But it was, that one was really good. And that one worked, I think, the best. So yeah.
Great. So who are all these people on your website?
Yes. So those are people who work for me. They're not my official employees. They're my contractors, but they're in between part-time and full-time.
I see. Okay.
Yeah.
This is your extended team. You're like running a fluid agency.
Yes, exactly.
Okay. So if I don't have the time to wait, could I boost the blog post? Should I run an ad campaign, an AdWords campaign or something like that?
Well, probably. We
Okay.
haven't tried that. We haven't tried that just because we were busy with other client work, and then we saw the results in this all of a sudden. So
yeah,
I'm sure there are some. I'm sure there is room for improvement in terms of even just adding more to that blog or doing Google ads or Facebook ads. It depends where the ideal client is hanging out.
right. Or even sharing on social just to help jumpstart the SEO stuff, right? Yeah.
Yes.
So if someone like me who has a decent sized social media following, I could just take your exact blueprint, is it 6 steps?
Yes, 6 steps.
Yeah, the 6 steps, and I can just put a little juice behind it by just starting to share it to my audience, and then they'll check it out, and then hopefully train the spiders from Google to find it sooner. Right?
Yes. Yep.
Okay.
That's correct. And you can also do paid partnerships where other people can share that blog for you. It doesn't have to be paid, but there are people that do that as well. If they have huge following and you want them to share your blog, then you can do that too.
Yeah. So it's wonderful to be able to put out work so that you don't have to do sales and generate leads, qualified leads for some very niched, very specific targets. Are there other benefits from people discovering your content? Are you being invited to speak on podcasts, or what other benefits are there?
Yeah, so I think that the bigger benefits are just getting better clients and people who expect to pay more because they see you as an expert, as a specialized graphic designer. So I'm not getting all the random leads. I do public speaking here in Austin, Texas, but that's mostly just educating entrepreneurs and startups about branding in general. So not super niched and targeted. And I did have a plan to go for a CPG conference in Las Vegas in 2020, but didn't happen.
Are you active on social media?
Not really. We are on social media and we kind of post, but we don't focus on social media because, as mentioned, we get all the clients through our blog. And I was going for lots of networking events. I know a lot of people. So it's word of mouth or blog. So I'm not that active on social media. I am active on social media when it comes to me educating graphic designers to do something like this. And that's on Aventive Academy. So that's not Aventive Studio, that's Aventive Academy. And that's where I'm active on Instagram. So if people want to learn more things like this, they can find me there.
So go to Aventive Academy on Instagram.
Yes.
And then that's where, if you're a creative person, you can get some of the training, some of the things you were talking about today, right?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay, fantastic.
Yeah.
Okay, so Kady, thank you very much for sharing this. I hope you guys enjoyed this presentation. If you like this video, go ahead and give it a thumbs up or leave a comment below and share it with somebody who needs to learn how to do this stuff.
Yeah, thank you, Chris, for having me.
My pleasure. Thank you.
Okay.